Hello everyone, welcome to the Self-Knowledge course. Today, as every Sunday, we have our Phase B lectures. Self-Knowledge course. And well, today we have a very interesting topic. We are going to talk about initiation. So just let me check that everything's okay with the broadcast. So we start with today's topic. Well, this self-knowledge course is, transmitted for free in this page. Every Wednesday and Friday, we see the phase A of this self-knowledge course that consists in 50 lectures, totally free, that are aimed to give you the tools so you can awaken your consciousness. On Sundays, like today, we see the phase B lectures that are 25 lectures that go deeper in this path to achieve the self-knowledge. Today we are going to talk about the initiation and the trials. And the objective of today's topic will be to know what initiation is, how and where can we achieve or enter the path to the initiation, and what are the trials that we have to experience so we can enter and we can advance in the initiatic path. So let's start right away. What is initiation? Well, initiation is actually our same life, our own life, intensely live with righteousness, wisdom, and love. Some people think that they are going to find the initiation in the Himalayas, there in the hills of the Tibet, or by joining a lodge in the physical world, when actually the initiation is something of our soul. The initiation is our very life. And as we advance on this path of the initiation, we are going to be living every step in our own life. When we learn to live our lives with righteousness, having a right thinking, a right feeling, a right talking, a right action, and when we manage to live our lives with wisdom, and we know that the wisdom we rescue our wisdom from the death of our psychological defects, and also we get wisdom when we teach others how to awaken consciousness. When we give wisdom, we receive back wisdom. So we will start to lead our lives with that wisdom and also with love. And when the sacred fire is lit in us, and we all the time are feeding that sacred fire, we are going to see how the love start awakening in us. So we are going to lead our lives with righteousness, wisdom, and love, and that will be the path of, or the way to advance in our path, in our initiatic path. Actually, we need to know that the self, the psychological I, doesn't receive initiation or degrees. The intimate, our inner being, our consciousness, is the one who receives the initiations, and they shouldn't be told to anyone. Initiation is not something to adorn the personality. Whoever achieves some initiation and begins to show himself to others, say, I am the first initiation, I already received the third initiation, etc. And with this, one to boast something that only belongs to our consciousness, actually runs the risk of losing those initiations if that person doesn't correct that situation. Because initiation, it is something very intimate to the soul. It's not something to be proud of in the physical world, because it doesn't belong to our personality. There are 5 important major initiations. Are known as the initiations of major mysteries. And these initiations cannot be achieved without sexual magic and with the um, fire of the Kundalini. A single person cannot access these major initiations, nor can a married person who hasn't managed to stop fornicating and who has not achieved the level of balance of the energetic centers to have the level of purification in his energy that allows him to ignite in the base of his spine the sacred fire of the Kundalini. So we must be clear that to receive this initiation, we must be working with the sacred fire of the Kundalini in the practice of the suprasex with a stable partner of the opposite sex in fidelity, chastity, and love. Another important thing to know is that all initiations and degrees are conferred by that many times are conferred by many schools in the physical world really have no value in the superior worlds. The masters of the White Lodge only recognize as true and legitimate initiations those initiations of the soul. They are totally internal and are related to the completion of each of the solar bodies on the first mountain. So, once the sacred fire of the Kundalini lights up in our spine, in the astral world we receive a sword with a tiny blade that grows with each initiation. Because each initiation is related to the creation of a body. So once we manage to uh, regenerate the physical body, our sword is going to grow a little. Once we manage to regenerate our vital body, the sword internally is going to grow more. Once we manage to create our solar astral body, our sword is going to have a blade like, I don't know, this long. Because you need to take into account that the length of the blade of the sword is going to be like the same as your spinal column at the end of the work. So if you like check that the astral world, when you see the dimensions in your spine is at the level of the navel, then you can measure from the base of your spine to that level, and that will be the length of the sword once you have created the solar astral body. Then when we create the mental body, it will be longer, bigger, and when we manage to create our solar castle body, it will be like very big, and there we are going to join the bodic and the atmic bodies that are raised, so we don't have to create them. So there are only 5 initiations that we must do in the first mountain. We know that this work is like divided into 3 mountains of initiation. And well, the creation of each body can last around 2.5 years, and that's with a continuous level of work. Like working like hard, you can do any, like more or less, in 2.5 years. The masters of the White Lodge are not interested in the degrees and hierarchies of the physical world. They are only interested in the Kundalini. They examine and they measure the spinal cord of the initiate. If the candidate has not raised the serpent, for them he is simple, yes, he is like a simple profane, like any other. Even though that person occupies in the high position in the physical world, it actually doesn't matter for the internal masters. So we must be clear, we must bear in mind that the first step to enter the initiatic path is to light the sacred fire of the Kundalini in our spine to receive that silver sword in the astral world. In lecture number 5 of the phase B, like 2 weeks ago, we saw the process of balancing the centers, the energetic centers of a human machine, and the fabrication of our mercuries. And for this, we need to be focused on practicing the self-observation from moment to moment to discover the small details of the ego that are all the time manifested in us, and that are all the time coming to waste our energy. And apart from this, we must be working in reflective meditation all those details of lust that doesn't allow us to stop fornicating, that doesn't allow us to stop expelling our sexual energy, and that all the time are leading us to have sexual falls or nocturnal emissions. And this in order to gain an important level of chastity so that fire of the Kundalini can be lit in us. And when we are in this process of balancing our centers, of achieving chastity, when our Mercury is already yellow, as we saw in the lecture number five, they are going to throw us a trial, a trial of fire, in which it will be measured if we already have the level of control over our internal fire, over our emotions, over our passions. It is generally a trial of anger, in which that day there is a friction with the couple. We are about to fight with the couple, and if we refuse that day during that trial, if we refuse ourselves to fight, if we manage to control our internal fire, and we refuse to discuss with our partner, instead we self-observe and we practice the psychological death, we ask our Divine Mother to eliminate each of those details of anger that are manifesting. And if at that night, that way we're going to pass the trial of fire. And if at that night we practice the supersex with our partner, we are going to be passing the second trial, that is a trial of celibacy. Yeah. And at that night, if we manage to pass those two trials, the sacred fire is going to be lit in our spine, in the base of our spine. And that way, our Mercury is going to turn into red. So internally, if we check our waters, we're going to see the waters red in the astral. And if we also unfold consciously to the astral, from then on, when we look at our belt, we are going to be able to see that we already have a small silver sword on the right side of the belt. Even sometimes some initiates manage to presence that ceremony in which our inner being receives the sword. So that is something that you can also live. And once you receive your silver sword, once you manage to lit the sacred fire of the Kundalini, you start the initiatic path, and you are going to start that path to receive, or to work to receive, the 5 initiations of the first mountain that we are going to see now, like each one. And well, allow me just a second. The first initiation, is related to the ascent of the first serpent, which corresponds to the regeneration of our physical body. To turn our body from that lunar state in which it currently is generated, we are going to turn that body into a solar physical body. That when we, by practicing the suprasexuality, well, the 3 factors, but that is going to be like sin when practicing the suprasexuality, because we are going to be raising that fire and that energy is going to start to be condensed in each one of the 33 vertebrae of the spine of the physical body. And when the fire reaches, you get to feel that whole spine of energy, And when that fire reaches the magnetic field of the root of the nose, so you feel the 33 vertebrae of the spinal column, and you reach the fire until this point in the physical body, the first initiation will be finished. And this initiation confers powers over the elementals of the earth, which are the gnomes and the pygmies. To complete this first initiation, we will need to pass several trials. Among these, there are trials of tribulation, of poverty, and also constant trials in which our patience and our chastity will be tested. That is the first initiation. The second initiation is related to the second serpent, which corresponds to the spine of our vital body. When we manage to regenerate our vital body, to feel the 33 vertebrae of that body and turning that body into a solar body. And when the fire reaches the magnetic field of the root of the nose, that second initiation is finished, and it confers power over the elementals of water, over the undines and nereids of water. And to complete this initiation, we will also need to pass certain trials related to tribulation, also poverty, because the physical and the vital body are like very related to each other, and also constant trials in which our patience and chastity will be tested. And in the case of the man, we'll need to pass a short period in jail, accused of something that he didn't, like, unjustly accused, and must pass that process without despair or without falling into arrogance, etc., to pass that second initiation. In the case of the woman, doesn't have to live that period in jail, but is going to live those trials of poverty, tribulations, etc. And well, that is the second initiation. The third initiation is related not now with the regeneration, because we currently have a physical and a vital body created. They are in lunar conditions, so we don't need to create the body, we just need to regenerate the body. But in the case of the astral, mental, and causal body, we need to create them. Because of them, we only have like a principle, like an embryo of those bodies. And in that case, in the third initiation, we are going to be creating our solar astral body. So when the fire reaches the magnetic field of the root of the nose, it must now descend to the heart by a secret path. And in later Phase B lectures, we are going to be teaching how this is done. And we are going to do that when creating a body. And we are going to be sending the energy to the heart, so the body start like being created. And when this initiation is finished, the astral fire is born. And the neophyte must pass in the astral body the entire drama of the Christ passion, but in the astral world. He must be crucified, dead, and buried, and he must be also resurrected, and he must also descend into the abyss and remain there for 40 days before the ascension. And well, this is an internal process that is lived astrally when going through this third initiation. It is necessary, very necessary, to know how to love the couple to achieve this initiation. The sexual union at this point must be filled with immense love. Every kiss, every word, every caress must be totally free of desire. And to complete this initiation, we will need to pass constant trials in which our obedience to our internal Father and our loyalty will be tested. And at the end of this initiation, the initiate receives power over the fire salamanders. And well, that is the third initiation. The fourth initiation of major mysteries is related to the creation of the solar mental body. The fire ascent, the 33 vertebrae of the spine in the mental body, and ascend to the point between the eyebrows and descend to the heart. And in this initiation, the mind must be crucified and stigmatized. That means that in this initiation, we need to achieve a total control of our mind, of our thoughts. In the world of the mind, the universal fire sparkles. Each one of those 33 chambers that are the 33 vertebrae of that body teaches terrible threats. And several trials are going to be lived during this initiation, in which our capacity to detach ourselves from everything will need to be like test, and will be required from us a lot of work in the sacrifice for humanity, and also learning not to criticize. That is another condition to finish this initiation. And at the end of this initiation, power is received like power over the elementals of the air, that are the sylphs and the sylphids, and well, also the voluntarily management of the solar and the mental body. That means that once you finish creating your solar mental body, you are going to be able to use at will your mental and your astral body. That means that from then on, you are going to be able to unfold yourselves to the fifth dimension anytime you want. You just need to put your body to sleep, your physical body to sleep, and you just need to get up and go, because you already at that point will receive that level of control over those bodies. And well, the fifth and last initiation of major mysteries of the first mountain is related to the creation of the body of the solar wheel, also known as the causal body. And here the same, the fire rises to the point between the eyebrows in the spine of the causal body, and from there descends to the heart. And everyone who finishes this initiation becomes a true man with a human soul, because at this point you already have created your 5 solar bodies, and that means that you already have an internal constitution, that you already have a human soul. And here in this initiation, we learn to do the will of the Father. In this fifth initiation, we must decide for either of the two paths, the path of nirvana or the direct path. And in the fifth initiation, this body of the conscious will be born. So we already are going to have a true will. And to complete this initiation, we will need to pass certain trials, in which will be measured like our will to renounce the world, our will to obey our inner Father, and in this initiation we must verify the depth of each of the psychological defects that we work in the whole first mountain. And another condition, let's say, is to behead Jezebel, which is the demon of the mind. That is something that you will have to live in that fifth initiation. And well, when you finish those 5 initiations and you already have a human soul and you not took the direct path, because for the nirvanas there is no more options to go ahead in the initiatic path. Once you have your human soul, then now you have the right to unite, to join your divine soul, which is Buddhi, and from that union, from the human and the divine, the force that is named Christ, which is the fire of the fire, will be born in us. There you are going to live the Christmas of the heart, because in your heart is going to be born the Christ, the real Christ. And well, let's now see what are the trials, because I have mentioned some of the trials that we'll need to pass, but we are going to see now in general what are the different trials that we are going to see when we start working on this path of the initiation, and the ones that we will need to be passing to advance in that path. And we are going to see the small trials and the great trials that will mark like the completion of each initiation. So the first type of trials that we are going to live are the trials of details. When one enters the path of the initiation, when one already begin to work, a series of terrible trials come to us, because the initiate must be tested in every way to see if he really deserves to continue climbing that mountain or not. They are like months and even years that he is tested like daily. It is a rigorous discipline, yes, and to do well in these trials, the psychological work, of the psychological death from moment to moment is essential. That is what is going to allow us to pass each trial. Because, and you see that you are going to see that these trials of the details are like small trials. And sometimes people don't give much importance to the small trials that we live every day. But what happens that actually anyone can pass the big trials, because when something big is happening, that's like move you to realize that you are living a trial. And actually anyone could pass the big trials, but the tiny little trials, no. And that is where most initiates get stuck, because they don't think that the thing of the daily living are trials. Like, for example, picking up 10 cents off the ground. And what's, 10 cents worth? But with that, you lose a trial, because you are taking something that is not yours. So you are not being right. You're not working with wisdom and love. Or you can actually think in all these small things or all the small details of the day, in which you have to decide whether to let your psychological defects to act or to eliminate them and let your consciousness to act. If you let your defects to act instead of your consciousness, you are going to be losing every day those small trials that are the trials of details. Actually, they test us in every way: financially, with family, with honesty, with ambition, with pride, with lust, with anger, a lot, with jealousy, with laziness, etc. And we need to be aware of these trials, we need to know that when we enter this path, what before were just like things of life, circumstances, are now trials, because now we are all the time being tested to see if we really worth to advance in this path. And in the constant practice of self-observation and of practicing the psychological death is what will allow us to pass these trials. And they are going to pay us for everything that we pass. What each one earns is paid in degrees or initiations. It is actually a hard work. Nobody is given anything for free. Everything in this work has to be earned. And also we need to know that these trials are thrown both physically and internally. Physically, we can have a situation, an altercation with a partner, or a trial of jealousy, But in the inner world, in the astral world, the same. They are going to put us in situations in which they are going to measure how we react under those situations. So we need to be like aware of that. Another type of trials that we are going to live in the initiatic path are the trials of the guardians. And there are three guardians during this path. The first one is the guardian of the astral world. And we are going to face this when working on the creation of the solar astral body. And there we are going to see ourselves in the astral world in front of a terrible monster, and we will need to confront him by, throwing ourselves at him to defeat him with our sword. And the one who flees doesn't serve as an initiate because he remains a slave of the ego. Because this monster personifies our ego. And if at that moment we feel fear and we run away, we actually show that we are not willing to eliminate our ego. And this trial is thrown once, and if one falls, it is thrown up 2 more times. And if we don't pass it the 3 times, we will lose the force that we have and we will leave the internal knowledge. And well, the second one will be the guardian of the mental world. And we are going to face this guardian when we are creating the mental body, the solar mental body. And something that we must know is that the human mind, the mind of the man is not human. It is in the animal stage. And each one has on the mental plane like a physiognomy that corresponds to him according to his character. For example, the Kunin in the mental plane is like a fox, or the passionate looks like a dog or like a he-goat. And the encounter with this guardian of the threshold of the mental plane is more frightening than the one of the astral or the guardian of the astral world, because this will be like something bigger. And in this larva, all our mental crimes are like personified, and those who fail this trial are enslaved by that terrible monster. That is something that actually lives inside you. And we will pass this trial by confronting him, by throwing ourselves at him to defeat him with our sword, that at that level will be like, bigger. And the last one, or the last guardian, is the guardian of the world of the solar wheel, or also known as the guardian of the paths. And in the encounter with this guardian, we must decide the path that we are going to take. We are going to decide on the direct path, which is narrow, which is difficult, or on the broad and easy path of nirvana. So the guardian tells the initiate, yes, you have done a very good job until now, but now you must choose one of these 2 paths. The narrow and difficult road that leads to the absolute, and there is going to show us all the hard things that we will need to live in the second mountain, which is the hardest mountain, but it's the one that leads us to reach the liberation, the absolute. Or you can choose this wide and paved road that leads to nirvana, where we are going to live maybe hundreds or thousands of years of, happiness, living in some planet, example, and having, everything you ever wanted. But you will need to return because it's on a spiral path. You will need to return because you're going to, at some point, remain without dharma. So you will need to come to the very beginning again and need to start the path once again. And he who is not willing to do the will of the Father, well, chooses the path of nirvana because it's the easiest path. And actually, 999 out of every 1,000 initiates choose the path of nirvana. But everyone who is willing to do the will of the Father, what does at that point is that put the Father to choose the path. And actually, only one of every 1,000 initiates choose the direct path. And well, these are the trials of the coordinates. Now, let's see the trials of the elements. And here we are going to see the trials of earth, of water, of fire, and of air. And we will face these trials from moment to moment, the same as the details. But these are like bigger. And in those trials of the four elements, the hierarchies know how the initiate is doing spiritually, whether or not he is practicing, the three factors for the consciousness revolutions. And as you can see here, these trials serve to temper us. Yes, to temper are served. And well, the trials of earth, they are related to poverty. In the astral plane, when this trial is thrown to us, the person is seen like being like stuck between two rocks that close, threatening, and one feels like trapped. And if the candidate at that point screams in horror, he inevitably loses the trial. So for that reason, we need to learn to take advantage of the worst adversities in life, because the worst adversities, give us like the best opportunities, and we must learn to smile in the face of adversity. That is the law. That way, we will be passing those trials. Those who succumb to pain in the face of any adversity of existence cannot pass these trials of earth. And in the physical plane, we will have to experience situations related to economy. And if we pass those situations by acting consciously, by applying the psychological tools that we are learning, we will pass these trials externally, and then we are going to pass these trials internally. Well, the second types of trials of the elements are the trials of water. And here, the candidate is thrown in the astral into the ocean, and he actually believes like he is drowning. And those who don't know how to adapt to all the various social conditions of life, who don't know how to live among the poor, those who, after being like shipwrecked in the oceans of life, reject the struggle and prefer to die, those like weak ones inevitably falls these trials of waters. And when they see themselves in the astral, they scream, they shout. But if, on the contrary, you are passing those trials of waters, you can see like the water, when you pour the water in a glass, it takes like the shape of the glass. And we need to learn to be like the water, that we are like fine whenever life like put us, that we learn to manage to be like, yeah, fine, not complaining all the time, but by all the situations. That way, we are going to pass the trials of water. That way, when we are there in the middle of the ocean, we are not going to fall into despair. We are going to swim. We are going even to go out and fly in the astral plane. And well, the other trial is the trial of fire. And this trial is to know the serenity and the sweetness of the candidate. And the angry and the choleric inevitably fall this trial. And there, the person can be seen internally and externally persecuted, insulted, you know. And those who react with violence, in the astral plane, fail the trial, and those who react with violence in the physical plane, in face of those situations, fail this type of trial of fire. And you can also, in the astral plane, can see yourself around flames, and if that like horrify you, and that way you lose these trials in the astral plane also. And the last trials are the trials of air, and those who despair at the loss of something or of someone, those who are not willing to lose what they love the most, they fail in the trials of air. Because these trials are more like trials of attachments. And in the astral, the candidate is thrown to the bottom of, a precipice. And the weak, the one who screams and returns to the physical body, in her, fail that trial. And well, those are generally the trials related to the initiation. So if we really want to travel the path of initiation that lead us to liberation, we must learn to take advantage of the worst adversities in life, because there is the possibility to advancing in this initiatic path. And well, this has been today's topic. This is all the information that I wanted to bring you today. And I want to invite you, as always, to our next lecture. Next week, we will be studying everything related to the sacred fire. So don't miss that interesting lecture. And well, if you have, as always, any question regarding this information that I'm giving you, you can write any question that you have there in the chat, and I will be gladly solving any situation any questions, that you have, any concern, or you can text here in the messenger of the page. Well, here I want to say hi to Angelica. Hi, Angelica, and she's saying the trials of fire seem difficult for most people with anger problems and patient problems also. Yes, that is right. If we don't learn to handle our inner fire, which are our emotions, our anger, our passions, we are not going to be able to pass those trials of fire. But if we manage to work on our anger, yes, and our passions and our lust, we will be gladly find out how in the astral we are going to find ourselves surrounded by fire, and we are going to stay calm and quiet. And even though we are going to be able to make ourselves aware that we are in the astral plane and that we are actually passing a trial. So the marvelous thing about this work is that it's something that you are going to be like living like awakened. That you are going to be aware of every step that you are doing in this path. And Angelica says, is it the most common? Let me think. I think it depends on the temper of the person, because for some people, the hardest thing is not anger, but greed. So in that case, their problems or the trials that they are going to face the most and fail the most are the ones of earth. So it is like related to the temper of the initiate. And well, here I say hi to Christina. Thank you so much. Thank you, girls, for being here. And well, that is all for today. Thank you very much to all of you, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao. Have a nice rest of the afternoon.